If you follow this channel, you know that we like our campfires, staying warm by them at night or just having them for ambiance even when it's hot out. We carry a Solo Stove Ranger, and I've done a review and some camping videos with that, and I'll put a link below so you can find those. The folks over at Lifedoo reached out to us and wanted to know if we wanted to check out their fire pit. They sell it as the most portable camping fire pit that you're going to find. And so we said, sure, send us one, we'll take a look at it. And I wanted to do just a quick overview video, not really a full review necessarily, but sort of first impressions and what I'm seeing and what I'm noticing about this unit as I set it up and light a fire for the first time. One nice thing where I'll give credit to Lifedoo is how they've been able to make this flat when it's ready for storage. So it comes in this nice bag. It stores flat. You can easily store it in a car, an SUV, in your van, whatever you've got, your RV. It is a little bit heavy, at least the first impression. It's about 18 pounds, and that is something that you'd have to just think about in terms of weight, depending on the rig that you're in, or just picking it up and carrying it around. It does store very neatly in this bag that it comes with. I have noticed, unfortunately, it doesn't come with any sort of instructions. So you have to try to piece it together. These are obviously the end units here that are going to go together. It's got the grill that goes on top. The pan or walls that go underneath. And then it has all these slats and an ash pan. This is one of those things where if it had instructions, there's probably some neat trick to doing this. And maybe once you've done it a few times, it locks in better for you and faster so that you don't have to worry about looking like a fool trying to put it together. Normally I'd start out with some pretty small sticks as kindling, then medium sticks, large sticks. They use a fire starter. It just depends on what you want to do. The grate that's in the bottom of this is pretty wide, so some of your smaller kindling type stuff may not work all that well. So you're going to want something a little bit larger. I do have some smaller kindling in here on the grate. I started up the fire starters to make it a little faster and easier for this review. Seems to be taking off pretty well. The airflow seems to be working and getting things going, so we'll let this go for a minute, see how it progresses. This is certainly one of those units where you're going to have to deal with size restrictions because it does go down so small and it's compact for travel. So if you're looking to do, you know, a larger log, probably not going to fit in there. Larger branches probably would once you had it going hot enough. I'm doing a lot of little sticks. Any kind of small debris, that kind of thing would go in there pretty well. It's a pretty windy day here when I'm doing this. So there's quite a bit of smoke blowing around from time to time, but that wind is coming in underneath where that grating is that the wood sits on, and it's got a nice airflow, so the fire is going pretty well. The fire is actually burning nice and hot because of that airflow. With it being a little windier today, you might be able to see that as I toss more sticks in. There's definitely ash coming out as I do that. And the ash pan on the bottom is collecting the ash as it falls through, although with it being kind of windy, I'm going to end up with quite a bit of ash on the ground. Nothing that I think is dangerous, although you always have to be cautious when doing anything with a campfire and you're dealing with dry conditions. In Michigan here, we actually had some red flag warnings not too long ago because of extreme fire conditions. But we've also now had about 2 or 3 days of straight rain, so I think we're good. The ash coming out is just ash. It's not embers. Like I said, I'm not too worried about causing any kind of issues with that. It's burning through sticks and small branches pretty well. Question I think would be, can you keep it fed enough once you have the grill on if you wanted to cook on it? So I'm going to put the slats in and the grill on top. Being careful not to touch any of the metal, which I'm assuming would be quite warm at this point. The unit does have built-in handles all the way around, so you can pick it up and carry it once it's put together. Can't do that once fire's going, obviously, because that metal's going to get pretty hot. But I could see where these side handles might be enough of an opening that you could do some feeding of sticks through there as needed. Guess we can give that a shot. Whether or not the company intended you to use those handles as feeding points for fuel isn't clear. Because again, there's no instructions that come with this thing. I will say, if you're careful, those handles do work as a feeding port. The ash pan that I mentioned earlier has a decent sized lip. So as the ash is collecting underneath, it's holding most of it. And if you didn't have a lot of wind like I have today, it would probably collect everything. I think you have to look at something like this based on how you're going to use it. So there are a lot of different options when it comes to fire pits. There's the much larger round ones like we have the Solo Stove. But Solo Stove also makes very tiny camp stoves that you basically fuel with twigs, sticks, small branches that you can find. And I think that's the fuel that you're going to use for this for the most part. There's a lot of different kind of camp stoves, small stoves that are out there that run on fuel, like butane or propane. And then you have the ones that are wood-powered. They also tend to be very small, though. So generally when you're running something on sticks or small branches, the unit itself is going to be pretty tiny, which makes it nice and compact for travel. There's some that are out there specifically for backpacking. And you just have to know that you're not going to be able to put much more than a mug of water on it, maybe, or a small pot to heat up water or do some cooking. What's nice about this is that this grill is quite large. You want to do burgers, you want to do hot dogs, something a little bit larger, you could do that if you could keep the fire going well enough. And I think you could if you had enough supply just by feeding in through these handles. That is definitely putting out plenty of heat sitting next to it. I suppose if you wanted to use it just as a campfire to stay warm, you wouldn't need to throw the grill on there. And then it would be much easier to feed larger pieces of fuel in there just by dropping it on top. Might be large enough to hold a small log if you were able to get one that would fit in there. Once you get the sticks going and have everything hot enough, it might do it. I'd like to spend some more time with this and really try it out for cooking, carrying it around for maybe a small portable fire pit if you don't have an option to build one or you don't camp somewhere where there is one already. As I mentioned before, your initial reaction is going to be, wow, this thing is heavy, but it's really sturdy. So as I was doing stuff with the wood and trying to get it fed, it's not moving. And I think when you're going to do any kind of grilling on it, that's just not going to be a problem. You're going to have a pretty sturdy piece that's all locked together. All four sides actually, the tabs insert into the slots and then they actually lock down. So it's going to be pretty sturdy when you're doing anything with it. So maybe that weight is good in that regard. Again, this was just meant as a quick review. I wanted to set it up. I wanted to take a look at it, what it looked like in terms of quality, which seems actually quite good. Usability, I think, will come over time. I'm going to need to figure out what would be the best way to use this. And because we travel in a van, I always have to think about space. So the fact that it folds down flat is really nice. It is going to add some weight. And I need to figure out if it's something that we would take with us and replace something else, depending on the kind of trip we're going on. If it's a long-term trip, I don't know that I would take it. But a weekend getaway with friends, I think this could be really nice for throwing it in the trunk of your car and fueling it with whatever you can find in the woods with fallen sticks and other debris that's small enough to go in there. You could use it as a fire pit to keep warm. You just sit around it, have a fire at night, maybe cook on it. because it does have the grill. It comes complete with everything. Once the fire is out and it cools off, cleanup's going to be pretty easy, I think, because most of the ash is going into the ash pan. There's going to be whatever is left in the grate, but as soon as you pull everything apart, you're going to find that it's all going to just slip down into that ash pan and can be wiped off pretty easily. Clean it up, put it back in its bag, toss it in the trunk, and you're good to go for the next time. If you found a good solution for a travel fire pit, please leave your comments below. People always like to hear about other options that are out there. I've mentioned a few in this video, and we're going to continue to look for others that are out there, and maybe we can share those with you in different reviews as time goes by too. In the meantime, keep on trekking, and we'll see you out there.